Why do so many men suddenly lose their strength down there, even when they eat right, go to the gym, and still feel the same desire they did years ago? Why do some wake up one day and realize that no matter how much they want it, their body just doesn't respond the same way? Why do so many men keep trying pills, supplements, or tricks that promise results, but only bring frustration and shame? The truth is, millions of men are silently suffering, thinking that erectile problems come only from age, blood pressure, or stress. But few realize that what they do in private, something they've been doing for years, could be the silent reason their body has stopped responding. A simple, common habit that almost every man has repeated since youth may be slowly training the brain and body to fail when it matters most. And unless this hidden cause is corrected, the situation will only get worse. Because this isn't just about performance, it's about confidence, connection, and the basic sense of manhood that keeps a man feeling alive. Before we begin, comment below which city you're watching from. It helps understand where this message is reaching and how many men out there are ready to finally face the truth about what's been happening to them. Now, here's the part few men ever hear about, even from their doctors. According to many urologists, there are 8 common mistakes older men make when it comes to masturbation. Most of these habits start when we're young and curious, but over time, they rewire the body's natural response to pleasure, weakening blood flow, nerve sensitivity, and even hormone balance. The first mistake is rushing. Men who learned to finish fast when they were young, often because they feared being caught or embarrassed, trained their body to associate pleasure with speed. Decades later, that same pattern continues. Even unconsciously, the brain expects instant results, and the body reacts accordingly. The problem is that this constant rush reduces oxygen and blood circulation in the penis. Over time, it makes the tissue less elastic, less responsive, and more dependent on intense stimulation to work. That's why so many men struggle to stay hard or maintain control. Their body simply forgot how to relax into arousal. The second mistake is using too much pressure or friction. Many men rely on tight grips, rough surfaces, or even artificial pressure that no real partner could ever reproduce. This overstimulates the skin's sensory nerves, causing them to become less sensitive over time. It's not just physical wear, it's neurological conditioning. The brain begins to demand that same level of intensity to feel anything at all. When the real moment comes, ordinary touch feels dull, almost absent. This is one of the silent ways men desensitize themselves without realizing it. And when that happens, no pill, cream, or supplement can bring the feeling back, because the issue is no longer just physical, it's in the brain's wiring. The third mistake is fantasy overload. Many men rely on exaggerated images or scenes that no real partner could ever match. When the brain gets used to this constant stream of hyperstimulation, it begins to lose interest in normal situations. Dopamine, the chemical that fuels desire and satisfaction, becomes harder to release from ordinary contact. The man starts feeling disconnected, not because he doesn't care, but because his mind has been conditioned to need extremes. It's like turning up the volume so high that normal sounds no longer register. This leads to real consequences: reduced motivation, difficulty bonding, and a creeping sense of emptiness that makes men chase even more intense stimulation. The cycle feeds itself, draining energy, focus, and confidence. The fourth mistake is doing it when tired, stressed, or emotionally low. Many men use it as a way to escape negative feelings or to relax, thinking it's harmless. But the body starts linking pleasure to exhaustion instead of energy. The nervous system becomes confused. Instead of arousal being associated with vitality and life, it becomes associated with fatigue and relief. Over time, this dulls the natural sexual drive. Men start noticing they need more time to get excited, or that desire shows up only when they're alone and disconnected from real emotion. This is the subtle beginning of what doctors call psychogenic impotence, where the problem starts not in the body, but in the mind. The fifth mistake, one of the most damaging for older men, is ignoring recovery time. Just like any muscle, the sexual system needs rest. When men repeatedly force stimulation, day after day, the body doesn't get time to rebuild testosterone or restore the sensitivity of the pelvic nerves. This constant pressure leads to hormonal imbalance, reduced sperm quality, and fatigue in the smooth muscle tissue responsible for erections. What's worse is that the brain stops associating pleasure with true satisfaction because the reward system becomes exhausted. The result? Weak erections, low motivation, and a growing sense of dissatisfaction that affects mood, sleep, and even relationships. The sixth mistake is posture and position. It sounds simple, but many men don't realize that doing it in a sitting or hunched position for years compresses the pelvic nerves and blood vessels. This slowly restricts blood flow, the most essential part of maintaining firmness. The lower back, pelvis, and hips form a single system. When circulation is reduced by pressure or poor posture, the delicate network of vessels that supply the penis starts to harden and lose flexibility. This not only weakens erections, but also increases the risk of chronic pelvic tension and nerve pain that some men mistake for prostate problems. The seventh mistake is guilt. It might not sound physical, but guilt creates a powerful stress response in the body. Men who carry shame or self-blame over their habits trigger cortisol, the stress hormone, which suppresses testosterone and constricts blood vessels. Over time, this emotional weight becomes physical, leading to less blood flow, lower confidence, and an ongoing cycle of frustration. The truth is, guilt itself can be more damaging than the act because it keeps the body in a constant state of alert, never relaxed enough for real intimacy or strong performance. The eighth and final mistake is ignoring the warning signs. The human body always sends messages before a bigger problem shows up. Numbness, reduced morning erections, softer responses, or difficulty finishing are not random. They're early alarms that the body's natural rhythm has been disrupted. But too often, men brush it off, hoping it will fix itself. They tell themselves it's stress or age, but by the time they notice real decline, the damage is already advanced. The tissues lose elasticity, nerve signals weaken, and blood flow becomes restricted by microscopic scarring. Yet even then, few men realize that by changing their daily habits, they can rebuild the natural sensitivity, blood flow, and strength that seemed lost. Each of these mistakes may sound small, but together, they quietly reshape how a man's body works. They create a chain reaction. The brain becomes less responsive, the nerves lose feedback, and the blood vessels stop reacting as they should. The man who once felt confident and spontaneous now feels hesitant, pressured, and anxious. And what starts as a private frustration soon spills over into his relationship, his self-image, and even his health. Because when a man loses confidence in his body, he often loses part of his drive in life. That's why urologists now warn that ignoring these habits is not just about losing performance, it's about losing vitality itself. But there's hope, because while these 8 mistakes explain why so many men lose strength over time, understanding them also opens the door to reversing the damage. The body has a remarkable ability to heal when given the right signals. It's possible to retrain the brain, reactivate the nerves, and restore the balance that keeps everything working naturally. It starts with awareness, then with gentle, consistent actions that rebuild sensitivity, blood flow, and confidence. And though it takes patience, it doesn't require pills or extreme methods. The key lies in restoring what nature designed, not forcing it. Still, there's one more truth to uncover, because even when men correct these habits, there's a deeper factor, something hidden inside the body's own system that controls how strong or weak erections become with age. It's something most people never hear about, yet it influences everything from mood to muscle tone to endurance. And when it's blocked, even the best efforts won't bring back full performance. But when it's reactivated, everything changes. And that's where the real transformation begins. As men grow older, what happens inside their bodies is not just a matter of time passing. It's a gradual shift in how the brain, hormones, and blood vessels talk to each other. Every year after 30, the body begins to produce slightly less testosterone, the hormone that fuels energy, drive, and arousal. But that's not the main issue. The real problem begins when the brain stops responding properly to that hormone. It's as if the communication line between the brain and the body starts to fade, like a weak radio signal. The man still has testosterone flowing through his blood, but the brain doesn't hear it clearly anymore. That's why some men can have normal hormone levels on paper, but still feel exhausted, unmotivated, or disconnected from their partner. This loss of sensitivity, both physical and mental, isn't sudden. It creeps in slowly, often triggered by the same habits described earlier, combined with daily stress, lack of rest, and emotional disconnection. Aging doesn't destroy a man's vitality by itself. What truly weakens it is repetition of small mistakes that the body eventually interprets as a new normal. The nervous system adapts to whatever signals it receives most often. If the signals are about stress, guilt, and forced pleasure, that becomes its baseline. The more often a man uses stimulation as escape rather than connection, the more the brain rewires itself towards short-term reward and away from deep satisfaction. Scientists call this process neuroplasticity, but in plain words, it means the brain gets used to shortcuts. It stops valuing the slow buildup that leads to full arousal, replacing it with the instant jolt of artificial excitement. And once that pattern sets in, reversing it takes time and intention. That's why so many men feel like their bodies are betraying them, when in truth, the body is only obeying the rules it's been taught. At the same time, the blood vessels in the pelvis respond to the same messages. Every time the body releases stress hormones, those vessels tighten to protect vital organs, like the heart and brain. It's an ancient defense mechanism, but when it happens often, due to guilt, anxiety, or exhaustion, it becomes a permanent restriction. The arteries that once expanded easily to allow full blood flow start to harden, losing flexibility. It's like a garden hose that's been bent too many times. It still works, but not like it used to. Many men think this is a heart issue or simply age, but urologists know it often begins with chronic stress responses. Over time, this restricted circulation leads to weaker erections, colder hands and feet, slower recovery, and even brain fog. That's because blood flow isn't just about one organ. It's about the entire system working in balance. Now imagine that same system also flooded with dopamine from constant stimulation and fantasy overload. The brain's reward center, the nucleus accumbens, gets hit over and over with intense bursts of this pleasure chemical. It starts to protect itself by lowering its sensitivity. It's like someone turning down the volume because the music got too loud. Soon, normal stimulation doesn't excite the brain anymore. A real partner's touch, eye contact, or gentle buildup doesn't release the same surge of pleasure that digital stimulation once did. The brain starts craving the intensity of the artificial, leaving the natural feeling empty. This is why some men report feeling desire but not physical response. They're mentally aroused, but their body doesn't follow. The two systems are out of sync, disconnected by years of conditioning. At this stage, men often turn to quick fixes. Pills, supplements, or special exercises promise to restore what's been lost, but without addressing the underlying issue, the effects are temporary. A pill can force blood into the body, but it can't retrain the brain or repair sensitivity. It can't rebuild the natural connection that makes arousal spontaneous and lasting. And that's where most men get trapped, treating symptoms instead of causes. It's not that those aids are bad, they can help, but without restoring the body's natural rhythm, the improvement fades quickly. The key is not just to reactivate blood flow, but to repair communication between the mind and the body. That repair begins with awareness. When a man starts paying attention to how and when he feels aroused, what triggers his desire, and how his body reacts, he starts regaining control. Many men don't realize that their nervous system holds the key to restoration. The nerves in the pelvis, spine, and lower abdomen form what doctors call the sacral plexus. It's a complex network that controls not just erections, but also bladder function, digestion, and even posture. When this area becomes tight, tense, or inflamed from years of stress or poor position, the entire system weakens. That's why simple daily habits like stretching the hips, walking, or breathing deeply can start to bring back sensitivity and circulation. It's not magic, it's biology responding to relief. Another important factor is the body's internal chemistry. Testosterone is only one piece of the puzzle. Nitric oxide, a natural molecule that helps blood vessels expand, is equally vital. The body produces it through movement, oxygen, and nutrition. But when a man sits too much, breathes shallowly, or eats heavily processed food, nitric oxide production drops. Without it, even healthy arteries can't expand fully. This is one reason why some men notice improvement just by changing how they breathe. Deep breathing increases oxygen and signals the body to relax, allowing blood to flow freely again. It also reduces cortisol, restoring the natural balance between tension and release. When that balance returns, erections become easier, longer lasting, and more natural. Still, none of this works if the mind stays in conflict. A man who carries guilt or secrecy around his habits keeps his nervous system in a constant state of defense. The brain never fully relaxes into arousal because it associates it with self-criticism. This is why self-compassion, though rarely mentioned, is crucial. It doesn't mean ignoring mistakes. It means understanding that the body was never the enemy. Once guilt is replaced by awareness, the healing response activates. Hormones rebalance, stress decreases, and the nervous system becomes more receptive again. In that sense, emotional clarity is as powerful as any physical change. Yet there's something deeper still, something most men never hear about. It's a hidden reflex that determines how blood is held and released inside the penis. Doctors call it the veno-occlusive mechanism. When it works properly, blood enters, pressure builds, and the veins close temporarily to trap it inside, creating firmness. But when the tissue is weakened by constant pressure or lack of oxygen, that reflex fails. Blood leaks out too quickly, leading to partial or short-lived erections. This is not a matter of willpower. It's a structural issue. The good news is that this tissue can regenerate when treated with respect. Regular oxygenation, moderate stimulation, and full rest cycles allow the cells to rebuild. That's why overuse damages and moderation heals. Another hidden factor lies in the pelvic floor muscles. These muscles act like a hammock holding the organs in place and supporting blood flow. Over time, sitting for long hours and constant tension can make them either too tight or too weak. Both extremes reduce performance. Too much tightness cuts circulation. Too much weakness fails to trap blood. Urologists have found that learning to relax and then strengthen these muscles through gentle exercises helps restore natural control and endurance. But this only works when combined with healthy breathing and posture. The body works as one system. When one part is tense, the rest compensates. That's why true improvement requires patience and daily attention, not drastic effort. Now comes the part that surprises most men. What they think helps them stay healthy can sometimes be part of the problem. Some try to test themselves, often to check if everything still works, but this repeated testing keeps the nervous system on alert. It prevents recovery and reinforces anxiety. Others believe that more frequency means more vitality, but in reality, the opposite is often true after a certain age. The body needs time to rebuild its stores of key nutrients and hormones. Overstimulation can drain zinc, magnesium, and dopamine, leaving the body tired instead of energized. It's not about quitting entirely, it's about balance, restoring rhythm rather than intensity. Men who start respecting that rhythm often notice changes within weeks. Morning erections return, not forced but natural. Energy throughout the day increases, focus sharpens, and mood stabilizes. The reason is simple. When the body no longer wastes energy fighting stress and overuse, it redirects that energy into repair and vitality. The heart pumps more efficiently, the blood flows stronger, and the brain releases steady dopamine instead of chaotic bursts. This stability is what gives men back their confidence, not through external help, but through inner alignment. Yet, for all these positive changes, there's still one final piece missing, the one that ties everything together. Because even if a man corrects every bad habit, breathes deeply, and strengthens his muscles, one invisible factor can still block progress. It's something that sits quietly in the background, affecting circulation, hormones, and energy, without showing immediate symptoms. This hidden cause is responsible for why so many men, even after improving their lifestyle, still struggle with weak responses or loss of desire. It's not just in the nerves or muscles, it's in the cells themselves. And once this underlying factor is revealed and addressed, the transformation can become complete, because deep inside the body, there's a natural switch that determines whether a man feels youthful and alive or tired and unresponsive. When that switch is off, no amount of effort seems to work, but when it's turned back on, everything starts flowing again. The mind clears, the body reacts, and the man regains control not only of his body, but of his confidence and vitality. And that switch, as simple as it sounds, is what will be uncovered next. At the deepest level, the true reason many older men lose their ability to perform lies in something almost no one talks about: the gradual collapse of cellular energy. Inside every cell in the body, whether in the brain, heart, or the smallest nerve ending, live tiny power generators called mitochondria. These microscopic engines turn oxygen and nutrients into energy, the fuel that keeps everything running, including the smooth muscles that control blood flow during an erection. As years pass, these mitochondria start to weaken, mostly due to stress, poor sleep, processed food, and lack of oxygen. When they fail, the body cannot maintain the same pressure and blood control it once did. The penis depends on a massive surge of oxygen-rich blood and chemical signals to become firm. Without strong mitochondrial function, that system falters. It's like trying to run a city on half the power. It might work for a while, but lights begin to flicker, and eventually they go out. What makes this so dangerous is that the decline happens quietly. There's no pain, no sudden change, only small signs: slower arousal, weaker response, shorter endurance, or fading sensitivity. These are not separate problems. They are signals of an energy shortage. The good news is that the body can rebuild this energy system even at an older age through consistent oxygenation, movement, and nutrient support. The cells that control arousal and blood flow are among the most responsive to recovery once circulation improves. But that can only happen when a man stops the habits that drain energy and starts feeding the habits that restore it. It begins with oxygen, the most basic element of life. Every strong erection is, at its core, a rush of oxygen-filled blood, yet modern life starves the body of it. Hours of sitting, shallow breathing, and stress all reduce oxygen supply. When oxygen drops, the blood thickens slightly, circulation slows, and nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for relaxing blood vessels, declines. That's why men who start walking, stretching, or breathing deeply each day notice improvement long before any pill could ever act. Oxygen tells the body it's safe to open up, to release tension, to let energy flow. It reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and awakens the parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for rest, digestion, and arousal. When that system is active, blood rushes naturally to the pelvic region. Sensitivity heightens, and confidence returns. The second pillar of recovery is restoring the body's natural rhythm. Many men have lost the cycle of tension and release that once defined healthy arousal. They stay tense even when resting, thinking, or sleeping. The nervous system never fully switches off, which means it never recharges. One powerful way to retrain it is by consciously slowing down. Instead of forcing stimulation, learning to pause and breathe allows the body to regain control. This simple act restores balance between the sympathetic, fight or flight, and parasympathetic, rest and repair systems. When that balance returns, blood pressure normalizes, oxygen flows freely, and the muscles around the pelvis relax, allowing stronger, more lasting erections. The third element is nutrition, though not in the sense of exotic supplements or miracle foods. It's about the foundation: magnesium, zinc, healthy fats, and natural antioxidants. Magnesium helps the muscles relax and supports the flow of calcium and potassium, which are vital for nerve function. Zinc is essential for testosterone and sperm health. Healthy fats, from fish, olive oil, and nuts, keep cell membranes flexible so they can respond to hormonal signals. Antioxidants from fruits and vegetables protect those mitochondria from damage caused by stress and aging. When these nutrients are present, the cells begin to generate energy efficiently again, allowing stronger hormonal communication. And when the body feels fueled and supported, the brain starts trusting it again. Another important but often forgotten piece is sleep. Deep, uninterrupted rest is when testosterone is produced and when the brain clears out stress hormones. Men who sleep fewer than 6 hours a night see an immediate drop in testosterone and nitric oxide. Over time, this becomes a vicious cycle. Poor sleep lowers hormones, low hormones cause anxiety. Anxiety disrupts sleep. Breaking this cycle requires consistency. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, turning off screens an hour before sleep, and keeping the room cool and dark can completely change how the body heals overnight. After a few weeks of proper sleep, most men notice not only better performance, but also sharper thinking and stronger motivation. Then comes movement, the kind that activates the whole body, not just the arms or chest. Walking briskly, climbing stairs, or cycling for 20 minutes increases blood flow through the entire vascular system. It trains the arteries to expand and contract efficiently, just like they must during arousal. Strength training, especially involving the legs and hips, further stimulates testosterone production. Even gentle hip stretches and core exercises improve pelvic circulation, reduce pressure on nerves, and restore natural alignment. Movement isn't just for fitness, it's a message to the body. We are alive, we are capable, and we are ready. Yet none of this works without mental clarity. The mind and body are one system, and tension in the mind translates instantly into the body. When a man spends his days buried in anxiety, financial stress, or fear of failure, the nervous system keeps the body in survival mode. In this mode, the body directs blood away from the pelvis to the heart and brain. It does not prioritize pleasure, it prioritizes protection. That's why learning to calm the mind is one of the most powerful things a man can do for his vitality. Meditation, breathing exercises, prayer, time in nature, all these lower cortisol and reopen the flow of blood and energy to the parts of the body that had been closed off. Peace of mind literally restores circulation. The next step is emotional connection. Physical strength means little without emotional intimacy. Studies show that men who feel emotionally connected to their partners have better hormonal balance, higher testosterone, and stronger erections. This happens because affection releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that calms the mind and improves trust. When men engage with real human touch rather than digital or artificial stimulation, the brain starts to rewire itself. Dopamine becomes balanced again, and pleasure becomes associated with closeness instead of intensity. The body learns to respond to warmth, not shock. Over time, this natural rewiring restores excitement, spontaneity, and control. There's also the matter of forgiveness, the ability to stop punishing oneself for the past. Many men feel trapped by regret or shame for what they've done or lost, but guilt drains energy faster than any bad habit. It keeps the body in a constant loop of stress. True recovery begins when a man forgives himself, not as an excuse, but as an act of liberation. When he stops fighting himself, his energy no longer divides. That energy returns to healing, rebuilding, and restoring confidence. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's the key that unlocks strength. Now that all these pieces are clear, the mind, the body, the circulation, the hormones, and the energy, it's possible to see the full picture. The 8 mistakes described earlier slowly drain the body's power, while these 8 corrections restore it. Each step reverses the damage. Deep breathing revives oxygen flow. Relaxation restores the nervous system. Proper nutrition fuels hormones. Sleep rebuilds testosterone. Movement strengthens blood vessels. Emotional connection balances dopamine. Forgiveness releases cortisol. And consistency ties it all together. When these forces align, the body naturally begins to perform again. Not because it's forced to, but because it remembers how. And finally, the hidden switch, the one that controls it all, is nitric oxide. This simple, natural molecule is produced when we breathe deeply, eat green vegetables like spinach or beets, and move our bodies regularly. Nitric oxide tells the arteries to expand, sending fresh oxygen-rich blood to every organ, including the one that defines manhood. It's the signal of life itself. Without it, no medication can fully work because the arteries stay stiff and unresponsive. But when nitric oxide levels rise naturally, blood flow returns, nerves reawaken, and sensitivity follows. This is the true science-backed solution that brings lasting results. No secret pills, no unproven rituals, just the body returning to how it was meant to function. So, how does one activate it? By living in a way that honors the body's rhythm, moving daily, breathing deeply, eating whole foods, reducing stress, and getting sunlight. Each of these actions boosts nitric oxide production and rejuvenates the mitochondria. Within weeks, the body's systems start to synchronize again. Morning energy returns, confidence grows, performance becomes effortless because it's no longer dependent on outside force. It's driven by natural power. When men understand this truth, everything changes. They stop feeling broken and start feeling responsible. They realize they were never powerless. They simply needed to realign with how the body was designed to work. Age does not have to mean decline. It can mean mastery, the moment when a man finally learns how to care for the body that carried him through decades of experience. To summarize, the path back to vitality is not about quick fixes or fear. It's about patience, awareness, and balance. Recognize the 8 mistakes: rushing, pressure, fantasy overload, emotional escape, lack of recovery, poor posture, guilt, and ignoring the signs. Then replace them with habits that build strength: slow breathing, gentle movement, conscious rest, real connection, forgiveness, nutrient support, deep sleep, and consistency. Each small step signals the body to repair itself. Each breath sends oxygen to the cells that rebuild your confidence. In the end, what truly restores erections isn't magic. It's understanding. When a man learns how his body works and treats it with respect, nature rewards him. The strength returns not just to his body, but to his mind and heart. And that's the final message from every honest urologist. What truly kills a man's power is not age or loss, it's neglect. But the moment he decides to pay attention, to breathe deeply, to move, to eat with purpose, to rest, and to forgive himself, that same power returns. Because inside every man, no matter his age, there's still that same spark waiting to be reignited. That's the truth no one tells you. The strength you thought was gone isn't lost. It's only waiting for you to wake it up.